Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. Shriners Open DraftKings picks and preview. I want to let everyone know that if you want to get in a draw for 20 DK dollars, which I will announce on next week's DraftKings Golf Breakdown, all you need to do is give the episode a like and leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and give me your two favorite plays from below $7,500 this week for the Shriners. I'm in a quest for 10 million downloads / listens on the audio podcast. So even if you only watch this on YouTube, please go subscribe on iTunes, on Audio Boom, on Stitcher, on Podbean, wherever it is. And even if you don't listen to it, just please go download it. We're about 1.75 million away from 10 million for the year. I'd like to get to that 10 million download and listen barrier. That'd be fantastic news for the podcast, and it really goes a long way to help keeping all this show free. And I gotta let everyone know that Fantasy National has upgraded. There are more tools than ever beyond the best stat engine in the business, the customizable models, ownership projections, lineup generators. Now more specific stat breakdowns for putting, for approach shots, all the tournament history, scorecards from the past, historic cut lines. Go become a member at fantasynational.com today, and you're probably going to get your money back. I mean, I can't guarantee that, but everyone who has been a member of the site, well, at least most people, have really churned out some excellent results. $2.3 million in earnings last year alone. A lot of that has to come from my guest from today, who won $1 million at the Masters, won the Millionaire Maker. It's Drew Mathews from fantasygolfbag.com. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Thank you so much for having me back on the show. Looking forward to getting back to some normal golf events with some cuts and some fields that's bigger than 70 people.
Yeah, can we get rid of, I like the Asian swing. Can we just make them full field events, though?
Exactly. They're good golf courses. It sucks when there's no cut, and what are you supposed to do? Yeah. And it's in the middle of the night also.
Yeah, I mean, that part I don't mind so much, because I can wake up and like last week, Bergerson and I were talking, I was big on Xander. Xander and Finau, really led me to the money last week. I only ended up making, 2 bets on that tournament, and they were, a top 10, top 20, big losers. But having Xander come in first was a huge boom because he wasn't super owned. Then I cashed a Sam Burns top 5 at the Sanderson Farms. A ton of people hit Cam Champ 40-1. That's a great score for the swing season. Swing season golf is really where it's at, especially these types of events. Smiley Kaufman hit at 200-1 here 3 years ago. Patrick Cantlay, everyone was on him last year when he finally won, even at short odds. So these are the fun tournaments of the year. You don't put too much into it, and there's not as much hype, obviously, as there is for the actual season events. But I really love these swing season events. Last week's winner, by the way, of the 20 DK dollars, you should be credited now, by the way, was Dane K16. So congratulations on your 20 DK dollars, and please enter the contest again this week. Those likes go a long way to help keeping this show free. First thoughts, Drew, on this course for the Shriners in Vegas, TPC Summerlin. We're way above sea level. Is there any specific type of player that you like this week?
Not really, just an all-around good ball striker. I think I looked a lot at recent form and a little bit of course history. The thing that got me this week was looking at last year's results really didn't help much versus the prior years. I think the prior 8 events, winning score was 19 under par or better. And then last year with the wind and everything, it shrunk down to 9 under. So I think a lot of the stats last year were kind of skewed. So overall, I'm just looking at recent form. I'll stick to the basics: strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach. I threw in par 4 scoring and par 5 scoring. I think par 5 scoring will be somewhat important this week. But yeah, I don't think this catered to any specific player, but the driving accuracy isn't a huge deal here just because of the way the course is set up in Vegas. But yeah, I think just ball striking in general, getting guys on the green and having some putts for birdie and see who can get hot.
Yeah, so last year there was one round, I believe it was the third round, that was just disastrous for everyone because it was so windy. But all 4 days had a pretty reasonable amount of wind, and most other years we haven't seen anything like that. So unless you see that the wind starts picking back up again, you can use windfinder.com for that. That's the one that I always like to use. They use hunting towers and little small airports to track the wind. So you can find the one that's closest to the course, and boom, you can track the wind all throughout the day. Even for first round leader stuff, I'll release my cheat sheet on facebook.com later in the week that I'm going to wait until until, I won't say the very last second, but it'll probably be like Wednesday evening when I post that to get a really good grasp on who the first round leaders that I want to play. And those can translate into showdown as well, as sleeper plays for the week, and then you can pad the top end with the guys that you like coming out. But just straight up, is there any one player this week that stood out above everyone else to you for the Shriners? Like, we actually have some decent players in the field this time around.
Yeah, we do. No, starting off with like the top range, those guys just seemed so tightly bunched to me. I had a really tough time differentiating any of them, and some of them we haven't seen in a while, so it made it tough. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the guys up top are really good plays, and the guys at the bottom I think have some good values. And I mostly avoided kind of the middle range. So not one specific player really jumped out at me. I think it's going to be somewhat tough trying to pick. Maybe you got some advice for me, but up top, man, those guys seem really tightly bunched.
Well, it's funny. I ran my custom model from fantasynational.com, and I was like, because I fell into the same trap that you did. It's like, I don't know who to take. I mean, when in doubt, I always just lean Bryson, because when I see like Fowler, Finau, Spieth, Bryson, Webb, Cantlay as my top 6 guys in any sort of field, and you can even throw Gary Woodland in that, because I think he's a tier above the next guys down, that, I don't know, if we're going to take someone who wins all the time, at least recently, Bryson has more wins in the past 18 months than all those guys combined.
Yeah, I do like Bryson this week, especially he's got a high ball flight. I think that actually is maybe underrated a little bit this week. But, Tony Finau coming off of his loss last week, finishing second. Ricky Fowler used to live in Vegas. Like, all these guys have some type of narrative to play really well here. So it's really tough for me to put a thumb on one guy that stands out.
It's funny, like last 50 rounds with the stats that I was looking at, I put more of an emphasis on strokes gained approach over off the tee and around the green, about double the weighting in my modeling. So that's probably going to spit out Bryson most of the time because he's so good with his irons. But he came in at number 1, but everyone inside that top 6 finished inside the top 10. Like, number 1 was Bryson, number 2 was Finau, number 3 was Fowler, number 4, I don't even know where number 4 was Joel Dahlman, actually. Number 5 was Cantlay, number 6 was Jordan Spieth, number 10 was Webb Simpson. Like, there's so little differentiating these guys that if you're going to play, let's say, 10 or 20 lineups, you take a scattershot approach with these guys, then really concentrate your core on some of the mid-range guys or lower-end guys you like? Or do you think it's key to make a stance up here?
No, for me, I would probably advise to pick a couple guys up top and focus. Like, I wouldn't scatter it too much with 20 lineups or so. Maybe pick out 3 guys you really like. And down in like the value range, let's say 7K, I think there's a small group of people you can really focus your attention on. So, yeah, I'm probably going to take that approach if I was doing 20 or so lineups, pick out 2 or 3 guys up here above, say 9,500, and rotate it in through some mid 7K guys and try to get the value there.
So if we're going to just say, let's say we're going to focus on 2 of the top end guys, maybe you haven't hammered this down yet, but Bryson's going to be number 1 for me. Who would be number 2 or potentially even number 1 for you? Who would be that other guy?
Man, I would have to go with Tony Finau. I mean, his results have been just phenomenal, and he can't seem to win. He's got, I think 5 top 10s in his last 6 starts, and he's got pretty good results here at this golf course. So I would have to go to Tony Finau. I think he's just playing too well, and I think he's due for a win. I don't know if it's going to come this week, but he's the one I'd be willing to bet on to kind of get the job done.
Who do you think ends up garnering more ownership, Ricky or Spieth?
Ricky, yeah.
So
for sure.
Spieth's never played this event before. Ricky has. He came T25 in 2016. Do you think Spieth might be the pivot option here? Because I can see someone even like with the price discount and coming off the win at this course last year that like Cantlay could be double the ownership of Spieth, and that just seems kind of crazy.
I'm totally on board with you. I think Spieth will be the lowest owned of anybody over like 9,500. I think Cantlay will get ownership. I think Woodland will get sneakily high, and then Fowler will be up there. But yeah, I think Spieth is very interesting. He's the one guy, if I was, really going to try to win like the drive the green or something, he'd be a guy that would be under-owned, have a chance to win more or less. And he's had such a bad end to the year, and everyone talks so poorly of him. I think he could just show up this week and win, get the year started off right, and no one would be on him.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty smart way to go about it, even in single entry lineups, even in 3-max lineups, that his ownership will become even more suppressed in those types of contests, that he's no different than really anyone at the top. He's not a bomber like Finau, and he's a lot like Ricky in a lot of ways, except he wins a whole lot more. And this happened 2 years ago with Spieth, the year that he ended up winning the British Open and won 3 times. Coming into that year, he had like a disastrous swing season, really slow start to the year, and everyone's like, Jordan Spieth sucks. And then all of a sudden, Jordan Spieth is winning all the time. Now he's coming off a year with no wins, and everyone's like, Jordan Spieth sucks. That it almost seems like now is the time, especially like in the betting market, that's one thing. He's still short odds, but for DraftKings purposes, it might be the time to sort of push all in on him until he finally breaks through again, because when people were doing that last year, he was still garnering like 15, 16% ownership. Now he's going to be like 8, 9, 10. Like that's pretty low for Jordan Spieth.
For sure. I'm leaning that same way. I'm so tough on picking one of these guys out up here. I might just go for the lowest owned guy, and I think that's going to be Spieth by a pretty good margin.
9K range. It leads off with Cantlay right near $10,000. Gary Woodland is up right after that. Then it goes into Aaron Wise, Chesson Hadley, Cameron Champ coming off the win last week, Matt Kuchar at $9,100. Do you think that you'll play a supremely chalky Cantlay?
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. I'm not too afraid of like playing some good chalk. Typically I'll try to find the guys I like, and Cantlay's the one I like. And if it turns out he's going to be, 30% owned, I'm just going to probably bite the bullet on some of those, a good chunk of those lineups, especially in single entry. But yeah, between him and Woodland, I think they'll both be pretty popular, but I'm not afraid to play either one of them.
What about the guys below them in this range? Like Kuchar, who knows what he's up to, but this should be a course where it seems like it would lean bomber, but once you start seeing some of the past winners like Webb Simpson and Ben Martin and Smiley Kaufman, like these guys were guys that weren't pounding the ball. They were just getting super supremely hot with their irons and making some putts. Matt Kuchar can still do that, I think, at least.
Yeah, I don't mind Matt Kuchar. He's kind of in that boat with Spieth, who had kind of a down year last year. He'll be under-owned, I would assume. I'm not afraid. I mean, 9,100 is a bit steep, but again, when you look through this entire field, I would probably put Matt Kuchar in maybe the top 10 of talent-wise, or at least like PGA Tour history. So I'm not afraid to play Matt Kuchar there. The guy I'm most interested in is Aaron Wise. And then I saw today he got Rookie of the Year. Or I don't know when that got voted, but I think he sets up really well for this golf course. I think he finished 7th last year. That's right. Or 2 years ago, he finished 10th. So I think Aaron Wise sets up pretty nice as a pivot off Woodland and Cantlay chalk.
Well, this is just sort of an arbitrary question to throw out, but do you think that Joaquin Niemann wins this year?
Yeah, I think there'll be an event for him. So yeah, I could see that.
So I think that between now and the Tour Championship next year, Joaquin Niemann gets his first win of his career. He's 55 to 1 this week. Like, is he in auto bet territory anytime that he sneaks below like 25 to 1?
He could. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the tournament. I'm not terribly high on him on some of these events, just because there's some guys that are coming off the web.com tour that I think are just as talented to some degree that can win. So like, he's not an auto bet for me, but yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he's definitely in that territory over, 50 or 60 to 1. He's worth a shot. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it. I think he's going to win the Greenbrier next year. I think that's his bread and butter event going forward.
Yeah, that's actually a really good call. Just sort of it's almost like a Xander mold with Joaquin Niemann. Like, he hits a ton off the tee, can get super hot with his irons, has blow-up rounds if the short game's not working, but tends to putt a lot better on bent grass, which we're going to see this week. So I actually like him here. I'm going to bet him at 55 to 1. I'll probably end up playing him at, he's $8,400. People were lining up to play him at $10,000. That the price discount just seems good to me.
Wasn't he like 7,600 like 2 weeks ago? Maybe it was the WG, or not the WGC, the CIMB. And I was like debating to play him, and I was like, "You're such an idiot!" Like, he was 10K, 2 months ago, and I was like, all in. Like, what am I doing?
And the thing is, like, the results haven't been there for him. It was at the CJ Cup where it was. He ended up coming T36. Okay. He made the cut at the Safeway and then got MDF'd on the weekend, so that was just kind of kicking the nuts. But I just feel like the talent is so good, even if the form is not there, that he's one of those guys that even if a lot like Xander sort of away last week, where the talent is there, the set's up for him, but he hasn't been playing all that well recently, that you just go to him here because he's underpriced.
Yeah, I think it's just putter for him. I mean, tee to green, every single event he played in last year, I mean, he was probably in the top 10 strokes gained tee to green, and just, may or may not did it with the putter. And then his wedges were a little bit sketch. I know I watched him at the PGA, and man, he had some very bad wedge shots. So, if he can tidy that up, man, his driver and his irons are pretty solid. He should be up there with the sweep category.
He should. And like right now in the pricing, like I know Lucas Glover is coming in playing well off the web.com tour. You got Beau Hossler, Patrick Rogers, Kevin Na, Putnam, guys like that. If we're just going to talk about from a pure talent perspective, just take Neiman. He's by far the best of those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that entire $8,000 range, once we dip below Matt Kuchar, Andrew Putnam does lead it off, coming off a nice week over in China. Then you got Kevin Na, Ryan Moore, Hossler, Rogers, Neiman, Glover, Abraham Answer, Scott Piercy, local Vegas guy, Scott Piercy, Sungjae Im at $8,000. Besides Neiman, who I'm really big on in this area, who do you like from there? And I'll throw Cameron Champ back into this mix too. Can you ride Champ again this week?
I'm not going to. Not at 9,200. I don't have an argument against it, but yeah, I think he'll be pretty popular, or at least he's got to get talked up a little bit. Everyone was raving about him. He hits at 350 off the tee. I mean, what's not to like about it? But yeah, I'm not gonna go to that. It's not gonna fit my lineup construction.
Well, how often is a guy gonna gain 9.1 strokes putting in a tournament?
Exactly. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, it's not something you want to jump back to on the week after and see if he can like reproduce that.
That's tough. So who is it from that 8K range do you like? Is this like a Ryan Moore event because where you're at an elevated sea level that the shorter drivers aren't at a massive disadvantage here? They can hit it out as well. Or you're looking down like Sungjae Im. Is he someone that you want to go to?
Yes. So yeah, Ryan Moore is like, I'm just not going to play him. He's another guy that he gets down to that price and you feel like, man, that's such a good price for him. He's solid, but man, he's had really bad. I mean, he's had good results here, but he's had bad results mixed in. I mean, I think he won here 6 or 7 years ago, and then he's had a miscut and some 50th places. I am definitely on board with Lucas Glover. I think I'm going to ride that. I mean, he's just playing better this year, has decent history here, so I'm definitely going to play some Lucas Glover. Sungjae Im, I think, will be interesting at 8K coming off the miscut. I did some digging on the web.com tour for him last year. He played in 25 events. He missed 5 cuts in 25 events, pretty good. The week after the missed cut, he finished 11th, 2nd, tied for 8th, and 2nd in 4 of those 5 missed cuts. So yeah, I'm going to be on Sungjae Im this week at 8K. I think he'll be overlooked quite a bit as well. So not afraid there. And then Answer's the one I'm raising my equity on a little bit today. I think that 80 last week or a couple weeks ago when he shot 80 in the final round, I think it's a good bounce back spot for him. He rates out pretty well statistically, but his results are so hit or miss. I think I can trust Answer here. So I like the lower end of the 8K range. The upper end, I'm not going to touch.
The one guy I was super interested in is Andrew Putnam. It kind of shocked me that he played so well at a WGC. We've seen his results get better 3 consecutive weeks. If Ben Martin can win this event, doesn't this seem like an event Andrew Putnam with his solid iron play that he can contend in?
That's what I thought. I was on him yesterday. So I was looking at Andrew Putnam, and then I was looking at his results. Everything looks good, and I was like, there's just something not right. And at 8,900, I think I'd rather, pay up a little bit and get like Woodland or Aaron Wise or go down. So 8,900, I think, is the reason why I wouldn't play him. If he's typically, 70, 77, 7,800, I'd be all in on that, or not all in, but I would definitely be interested. But 8,900, I don't think I would like to pay that price.
I think that I can commit to paying that price on Putnam, who I know that people just won't end up going to. To me, in this 8K range, I only have so many plays that I want to make, and it's going to come down to Answer versus Putnam, and I can concede that Answer has the better price. Maybe I just cross off Sungjae Im, although I like what you said about him. Now you're kind of selling me on that. Maybe I'll play him over Glover, but like Putnam and Answer are really close for me of who else I want to play after Neiman here. That I just don't think anyone's going to own Putnam.
No, I'm with you. The same way I'm not. I mean, the price, you're so close to paying up for a decent guy or paying down, and you can save some salary. So he's just at that price point where people probably just skip over it. So I'm with you. I think he's fine. I'm not going to go there.
7K level. Who is the first target that you're looking at in the $7,000 range?
Oh, man, let me see. Probably the first one when I get down there, Sam Ryder at 7,600. I'm kind of between him and Austin Cook. I think he's kind of sneaky, but he's been so solid. But yeah, Sam Ryder was one I found was real interesting. He missed the cut here last year. And then when I dug back through his stats on Fantasy National, he had lost like 5 strokes putting in his first 6 events, and this was one of them. And then at some point during the year, he turned it around, and then he started popping out some top 15s, top 10s. So I think he continues that decent run on the greens and plays well here at 7,600. I can definitely get on board.
So I really like Sam Burns. Sam Burns uncharacteristically lost a bunch of strokes putting last week and still ended up coming T3. If we're just looking for quality players from down in this range, I really like where he's at. He's historically a very good putter, and he was lights out tee to green last week, especially off the tee and especially on his approaches. So I'm going to go back to him in this spot. I see my main man C, is sitting right there at 7,500. I'll probably pass on that from a DraftKings perspective. I'm already in at 70-1 from the betting market, though, as I'm going to continue to play my strategy of betting Siwoo Kim along with the top 5, which has been profitable. Even though he hasn't won in the past year, his 3 top 5s have really paid the rent for betting on him. DraftKings-wise, he's all over the map, so he's probably best just to leave off, especially in cut events. But I really like Sam Burns. I'm with you on Sam Ryder. Ryan Palmer at 7,900 was super intriguing for me, too, because his stats aren't actually all that bad, but the last 3 events that he's played in are non-shot link events, and he did just come 3rd at the CJ Cup, and just watching that event where the scoring went a little bit lower, that the driving was good, the putting was not out of this world, but like it wasn't bad like it normally is, and the irons were fire. So I kind of like Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, it stinks looking there and seeing the black line where you can't see the strokes getting tee to green and off the tee and approach broken out. But yeah, he definitely looks like he's trending in the right direction. There's not a lot of water on this golf course, so that's a plus.
That's always a plus for him. Like, would you rather play Palmer or Burgoon or Cook? You would like Cook the best?
I think Cook is safer. Yeah, if I had to put money on, to finish the best out of those 3, then yeah, I would put it on Cook.
Why is Russell Henley only $7,300?
Man, he's just so sporadic. I don't know. I wrote him up earlier too. He was, he's got decent course history, but yeah, his last couple finishes, he hasn't finished inside the top 50. So, he just doesn't have any good recent form, and I think DraftKings cares a little bit about that, and that's probably why. So I'm willing to go to the well on Russell Henley for sure, if that's what you're getting at, because I think that's too cheap of a price. His upside is, I think he could win almost any week that he plays. He's got enough talent. He just doesn't always do it, and sometimes he looks like he doesn't know how to play golf.
Adam Schenk is right there, too, at $7,300. 14th at the Safeway, 7th last week at Sanderson Farms, although he gained like 7 strokes putting. But he still gained off the tee, gained on approaches. He's someone, maybe it's because of his stupid name, that you just notice him when he does stuff and like pops up on leaderboards. But do you have interest in him, or are there guys just below that? Like, do we just go back to Joel Dahman?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Joel Dahman. The one thing I will say on Schenk is I think people may see that the top 14 and the seventh place finish last week, but he gained 7.5 strokes putting last week. If you go back to any of those, like, these greens tend to be somewhat difficult. I mean, they're not the hardest and they're not the easiest, but if you go to any of his events where, he's right around the baseline for strokes gained, he's missing cuts or finishing 40th. So I'm not too interested on Schenk keeping the putter hot this week.
Well, one of my favorite plays is at $7,300. It's Cameron Davis, who people were big on coming off the web.com tour, and he just absolutely laid an egg last week, but that was 100% on the greens. He only played 2 rounds last week because he missed the cut, yet he still came 7th in strokes gained approach for the entire tournament. Gained over 5 strokes on approach, lost 6.4 strokes putting on the green. He's not a big name, so no one's going to own him anyway. I guess if we talk about maybe he'll get some ownership, but who cares? He's someone that I want to go back to. He is way too cheap in this field.
For sure, yeah. I'm there with you on Cameron Davis. I think he's extremely talented. He's a pretty long hitter too. I mean, Cam Champ's up there, but Cameron Davis isn't that far behind. So I'm there with you on Cameron Davis this week. 7,300 is a good salary saver for a guy with that much talent.
Anyone lower than that in the $7,000 range besides Dahman that you'll go to, or Damon? He's going to be Joel Dahman until he wins. Then I will pronounce his name correctly. I think that's a fair deal, don't you?
That's fine. Yeah, I'm with you. I think enough people mispronounce it anyway. So if you say Damon, they probably think you say it wrong, or I say it wrong. So in the low 7s, I'm not afraid to go to Kevin Tway at 7,300. I know these are like buzzword names coming off a win a couple weeks ago, but a lot of these guys get that first win or at least get it around to, finishing top 15s consistently. 7,300 in this type of field, I think he should feel like a senior in this type of event. So I feel pretty good about Kevin's way playing well here.
Any love for my main man, Anders Albertson, who gained over 10 strokes on approach last week?
Is he not going to be like, 15, maybe 20%?
No, no one knows who that is.
I don't know. I think they're going to look at the old game log and say, Anders Albertson there gained 13 strokes tee to green. He finished 5th. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play that guy. Oh, I am interested, but I think he might be up there for a 7K guy.
No way.
I think so.
If he hits double digits, I'm going to be astonished.
All right. I'll definitely take the over on 10%.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, man. I think people look at game logs, and if they're using Fantasy National, which they should be, they're going to go see, he gained that many strokes tee to green. Man, he's got a great value. He ranked 6th in my model. I mean, that's pretty good. But I don't know. I think people will immediately go to a 7K guy, especially if they're trying to fit in like a Finau or somebody. They just fall into that range, and he's going to be the best looking guy there.
Yeah, but that's assuming that, people should be using Fantasy National. I think you're giving too many people credit for using Fantasy National that are playing in these DraftKings contests, though. If it's me and I'm thinking about it from hey, I'm playing some NFL, I want to play some golf because I got extra money on DraftKings, who am I going to take? I'm going to take Harold Varner before I take him. I'm going to take Jason Duffner, Nick Watney, Hunter Mahan. All those names just resonate. No one legit knows who Anders Albertson is.
That's true. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And if they want the stats, darling, Joel Damon is right there.
Yeah, I feel like that just jumps off the page. Anders Albertson, just a name that if they look last week, they'll see it. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of people paid attention last week with Cam Champ and everything. I don't know. I could be completely off base, but I do like Anders Albertson. So I'm there with you. But yeah, I feel like he would be popular, but I could be completely wrong.
The only other guy I'll play from down there is probably in the low 7s, that is. I'll play some Nick Taylor because he's Canadian, I'm Canadian. He's never missed a cut here in 4 tries, so why not? He's pretty good off the tee, and he can get the approaches going from time to time, too, so I don't mind him. In the sub $7,000 area, when we drop down here, are you going to go to JJ Spawn? His odds have already been cut from 160 to 100. This was his chance last year. He should have won this tournament, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Is he playing well enough to go to, or is Seth Reeves way sneakier and someone you want to play?
Yeah, Reeves is on my list. He's kind of in that Albertson category of playing well last week. Tee to green looked good, so I would be more willing to go there. I'm not sure about that with Spawn.
Spawn was 10th at 9 Bridges too, and that's a way tougher course. He maybe it was the wind last year that he played exceptionally well in, but I always like him more on the West Coast. Seems like a pretty good spot for him.
You're probably right. Yeah. Tee to green, he's decent. Putting, he really doesn't do a ton of damage. So yeah, I'm okay with JJ Spawn at 6,900. There's some guys below him I actually like more.
Please,
a couple Canadians are down there.
A couple Canadians, but please tell me one of them is my main man, Carlos Ortiz.
He's not on the list. He's not on my list.
All right,
he's okay though.
Who are they down there?
All right, so the one guy that I'm going to play a good chunk of is Mr. Adam Svensson. You know much about him? He is from Canada.
He is. Is that like a name only thing, Svensson?
No, he's striking it pretty good. He Safeway and the Sanderson Farms, he gained 4.6 strokes tee to green, 3.5 strokes tee to green. Lost a little bit putting. Finishes weren't terribly high, but at 6,500, a made cut, maybe a top 30. I'm okay with that.
Do we worry that he's never gained positive strokes in any tournament putting ever?
Do we know that off the web.com tour though?
I don't know that off the web. Just in every PGA event that he's ever played, what do we have? 10 events. He's been a negative in all of them.
Well, Luke List does that. You play him every week, so
that's true. Hey, listen, Luke List is also a top 50 player in the world. All right,
That's true. No, absolutely. I did look at putting a little bit this week, so that is concerning. But yeah,
I guess the other thing too is Luke List doesn't lose 3.6 strokes off the tee either. He gains 5.
Yeah, at the minimum.
Yeah.
Luke List knows how to strike it.
So besides Svensson, are you going to DJ Trahan to see if he can double up on another good week?
Yes, I am. That was quite interesting. I don't know. Is he back from injury? I was trying to do some research on that earlier, and I could not find anything too evident of what happened. But yeah, I mean, he played so well last week. I'm willing to go back to him.
I mean, for his career, he's sort of like JJ Spawn. Like when you look at his raw numbers, he's just a really good ball striker. Can he putt that week is the big question. And most of the time, the answer to that question is no, he can't. But
yeah, he's just a guy.
I would trust him more than I would trust Svensson.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. I would probably go to Svensson for a made cut over Trahan, but I just don't know why Trahan has been out for half a year. So I do like him. I'm definitely going to play him. But yeah, I like both of those guys quite a bit.
The only other one I'm really seeing, like, I can't believe, I mean, he didn't play well last week. And John Huh actually gained strokes through approach, but he's 6,200. Tyler Duncan, 6,200. Sebastian Munoz. Love Munoz. He's $6,200. That guy can score in bunches. He also tends to make like awful quads at the same time. But he's $6,200. What do you really want down here?
Exactly. I mean, those guys. I preach on that quite a bit. You could get. I mean, the salary you save down here allows you to pay up from like a 8K guy. You can almost get a stud. So if you can pick out a couple of these guys like Sebastian Munoz, I don't mind. It really saves so much salary. It gives you a stars and scrubs lineup, but those guys are pretty good. They're just mispriced. I mean, DraftKings just prices them down so low just to make the field work. So take advantage of it.
Well, the one great thing about Munoz here is that he's an up and down type of player, but in terms of raw DraftKings points, if you can get him through the cut in this field over the past 24 rounds, he ranks 19th in birdies or better gained against the field, which is always lovely when you're at a scoring course. Like, he's going to bleed some back because he's terrible out of the sand. You put him in a bunker, he's like how we envision Patrick Cantlay is, but actually out of a bunker. Like, guy can't get up and down to save his life. So that's problematic, but he is really lights out from par fours that are 400 to 450 yards. And with the elevation, like there's 6 that fall right in that range anyway, another 3 that are a bit longer. But I would imagine it's almost like the WGC Mexico thing where whatever the length of the hole is, isn't really the length of the hole.
Oh yeah, they just give the tips. They just give that the fully back tee yardage. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the scrambling like out of the bunkers because I heard a couple of people mention that this week that sand stays is fairly important. Well, Patrick Cantlay won last year. Can't be terribly important. So yeah, I think the priority is greener regulation. Just as a side note over the scrambling out of the bunkers, but there is one guy down here. I'm interested in playing in a couple of GPPs. I'm going to throw it out there. I don't know how uncomfortable it makes you. It might make you cringe, but Mr. Kenny Perry at 6,400 coming off a T3 on the Champions Tour.
Listen, you could talk me into Kenny Perry far more than you could talk me into like Wes Bryant at this point.
Absolutely. No, yeah, you couldn't even start the conversation. As soon as you say Wes, I'm out.
Listen, I can play Kenny Perry here. Do you think he can get through to the weekend?
I think he could. Yeah, I mean he's always been known as a long hitter, so the distance isn't going to be a problem. And he's got decent recent form if you consider the Champions Tour, which isn't a walk in the isn't a cakewalk. So yeah, I'm down for Kenny Perry. It's not going to be a huge overweight stand, but again, at 4%, you probably are triple the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely you are. So
yeah.
To kind of go back to the point from a little bit earlier about how no one's going to own Anders Albertson, it's because everyone's going to own Corey Connors.
Yeah, they did like him last week, huh? What was it, 160 to 1 his ticket?
Yeah, I wasn't even on him last week, but he came second. People were on him, and he's 6,600 this week. Like, how are people going to say? I'm thinking about it myself. How am I going to stay away from that?
The reason why I'm going to stay away from it is his putting splits are so sporadic. I mean, I've just in the last couple months, he's gotten 3 events where he lost more than four strokes putting. Like, on an event where these greens can be somewhat difficult, I want a guy that doesn't have that bad of splits with his putter.
Yeah, he is like a career negative putter. The big thing that stuck out to me last week, he wasn't doing so much damage with off the tee. He was fantastic. The approaches weren't elite by any means. They were fine. He gained 4.3 strokes around the green last week. He is like a big time like minus around the greens normally. So either he figured something out after getting married and it just clicked in his head, or he just had a super lucky week around the greens.
Yeah, I just feel like that's chasing to me. It's not something as subtle, especially if people are going to jump back to. So there's enough reasons for me not to play him than just him finishing second in one event. So, yeah, I'm not going to play Mr. Corey Connors this week, but I understand why people kind of want to play that recent form.
But if you talk about someone who's going to be like double-digit owned from down here, it's him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'm going to fade because that's a super easy, chalky spot to fade, I think.
Yeah, there's only a handful down here that really stand out. Like, he's one that coming off last week, the name value is there. But yeah, just looking down the list, there's really not a ton of guys that I think the average DFS player is going to know, right offhand. And maybe they know Freddie Jakobsen played 10 years ago. Maybe they'll play him, but yeah, I don't even know how he's in this event.
I used to love playing Freddie every single week. He was the best. He wore that stupid painter's hat. His swing looks like mine, but he was the world's best scrambler.
Awful swing. Such a bad, he just dips down awful. And he's a Ledbetter student, which makes no sense. You got guys like, Ernie Els and Trevor Immelman with all these pretty swings, and you got freaking Freddie Jakobsen over here lunging at it.
The other two guys I was interested in, just want to get your thoughts on. One was Robert Streb, although the guy just bleeds strokes off the tee, so I'll probably pass on him. But he had a nice finish. The other one is Seamus. Seamus lost strokes at the Sandersons on his approaches, -2, but he gained off the tee, gained around the greens, gained putting. That's usually pretty consistent for him. If he has a decent iron week, he can definitely contend.
Yeah, I don't mind Seamus. You think this is the type of course for him, though? I mean, he has a decent finish the last 2 years here. I mean, nothing great, but he seems like he's more of a more wide open, like, these fairways tend to run firm. I feel like he needs a little bit softer fairways. The course plays a little bit longer, and he can take advantage of it. He is a little bit of a longer hitter, so I'm not sure. He is sporadic on the missed cuts, but yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go there.
All right, I'm going to see how he's done. Yeah, he's 41st and 57th the last 2 years, so maybe this isn't the best spot for him. So I guess, in conclusion, the guys below the $7,000 range that I'm going to play are Spawn, Seth Reeves, DJ Trahan. I'm going to play some Kenny Perry just for you, Drew, and I'm going to play my main man Sebastian Munoz. But I'm not going to be in a super overweight position I will be overweight on all those guys because they're not going to be highly owned. That 1 out of 10 lineup is supposed to be massively overweight, but I'm not going to go out of my way, except for maybe Spawn, to really concentrate and make them one of my core guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I do like Alex Chayka a little bit. I know. Oh, you hate talking about course history, but he obviously likes this place for some reason. So at 6,900, I might throw him in a couple of GPP lineups just because there's no other reason why he loves this place. But yeah, besides that, I think we're on the exact same page. Trahan, Svensson, and Kenny Perry, I like down there pretty low. So looking forward to those guys.
If we're looking at the past 24 rounds, and obviously the Asian swing wasn't included in this, and you can find all this information on fantasynational.com very, very easily. But past 24 rounds, top 10 in strokes gained approach in this field. Dahman, Mackenzie Hughes at 6,800, Sam Ryder, Streb, Woodland, Ryan Moore, Vaughn Taylor, Albertson, Scott Stallings, and Svensson. It's a really eclectic bunch there.
Yeah, it's surprising with Scott Stallings, actually.
It's funny, like, Scott Stallings is the only guy in the history of the PGA Tour to be busted for steroids?
Was he really?
Yeah, he was.
I didn't know that. I thought Vijay Singh was. I didn't know Scott Stallings was.
No, Vijay got busted for deer antler spray, and then he won his lawsuit against the PGA to get all of his money back. Stallings got banned for 6 months. And you see, I was watching a bit of the Sanderson last week, and you can see him, and, the guy is popping out of his shirt. He's so yoked. It's hilarious.
He's wearing the hoodie. He looks like he's going to the gym.
Yeah, he's basically dressed like Bill Belichick, but he looks like he's, pumping some iron. He doesn't look like a homeless person.
No, yeah. He definitely looks like he's ready to go to the gym, or he just came from there and just walked up to his the first hole for his tee time.
Well, I think that's what his caddy does. He carries his own clubs. Caddy carries around and pull some weights for him, and he's getting some sets in between, waiting on the tee box.
Gosh. Some of those guys, man, get carried away. That's what happened to David Duval. That's why he lost his number 1 ranking. He got into pumping iron, and he bulked up too much. He didn't know how to swing a golf club anymore, apparently.
Well, he also developed vertigo, so that wasn't good.
Oh man, forgot about that. Yes,
I feel like
that doesn't help.
I feel like that may have been a bigger problem than getting too yoked.
Yeah, maybe. Jason Day, it seems to be doing both, though. I mean, he's got a little vertigo, and he's been pumping iron. He still seems to be all right.
Has he been pumping iron? It looks like he's just been eating iron.
Yeah, he's just built like that, I guess. Those big Australians hitting a long way.
Yeah. So early part of the season so far, you have a podcast at fantasygolfbag.com, and Feinberg's on it this week. Give us a preview of that.
Yeah, that was fun. He came on for about an hour and 15 minutes, so I'm finishing up now. It'll be out on Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning after I get my lineups locked. But yeah, he talked about his history meeting you, his history in Toronto, the beautiful city of Toronto, and then talked about some of his long shot golf bets. Talking about who was that at the Masters? Willett.
Danny Willett. It's the only
Willett.
The only reason I'm sitting here today is because Jeff and I picked Danny Willett to win the Masters 3 years ago. I'm pretty sure, at least.
He brought him up about 4 times. I was like, man, that must be a very, very big moment in y'all's life. So, no, it was a really good show. Jeff's awesome, man.
All right, Jeff's the best. Jeff will actually be on Wednesday's football show making his football picks, too. So stay tuned for that. You can find my cheat sheet up on dkplaybook.com. However, on Twitter, you just got to 1,000 followers. We need to get that number up.
Yes, I did get to 1,000. I saw that, I think this morning or last night. So thanks for shouting that out. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at RedKacheet. And yeah, always happy to interact with fans and talk some DFS golf or just golf in general. So love the sport.
Yeah, and check it out at fantasygolfbag.com. Before you get out of here, where you were, a legit golfer yourself, did you ever play at elevation?
No. I played in the mountains, but it wasn't really elevation. I wasn't like 2,000 feet or anything. So no, I don't have any experience there.
All right. I was just wondering, I always wondered how that affects people. Like if certain people would just climatize to it much easier than others, guys who have experience, does that really matter? Or is it just like, oh yeah, my drive's going to go 10% longer. I'll figure this out.
I think it's gotten pretty scientific with TrackMans and stuff like that. I saw a comment earlier about, I forget who it was, but he was like, yeah, I'm like 20 feet long on every approach shot. I'm like, quit doing that. Like, it's not very hard to club down a little bit. So yeah, I think it's pretty much a science at this point. So I wouldn't pay it too much mind.
Well, if you think that it's down to a science, I mean, that just leads us right back to the top. So Bryson's going to win.
Probably. Yeah, I think he's got a doubt. He sprays water on it and makes dew on the golf ball. It didn't help him any, but I mean, he's got that worked out.
See, there you go. Any sort of like extra 2% thing that Bryson can do, he's going to do. That'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience, Shriners Open DraftKings picks, and preview. Like I mentioned off the top, give the episode a like, leave your DraftKings handle and your favorite 2 plays below $7,500 to get into a draw for $20 DK. Also, you heard Drew and I talk about it the entire time. All these stats and modeling at fantasynational.com. Become a member today on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. It don't matter. It's the best tool that you can have to give yourself a massive advantage in the fantasy golf realm and the fantasy golf betting realm as well. My betting cheat sheet will be up on facebook.com/thepme Wednesday night. And I do want to let people know the odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Sub to the podcast. Let's get 10 million downloads and listens, all right? Thanks for that. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!